All right. Hello, New Venture Lab. So this is the assignment walkthrough for assignment number 8, proposed solution, elevator pitch. First of all, this is our first assignment in the video presentations point category in the course. So check out the syllabus. This is the first assignment in our point category of 20%. So getting a 0 on this will result in a 20% reduction at this point in New Venture Lab. So you want to very much make sure that you get this submitted. Pretty simple. The first thing is this: is do some thinking. Which of the two business ideas that you've worked on for the last 2 weeks are we interested in pursuing further? You can pivot at any point throughout the semester. In fact, that kind of thinking, that kind of a dynamic or adaptable thinking is very much encouraged. But ideally, you pick the business idea that it is that you're most interested in pursuing for the duration of the term. Okay. So what we'll do now, after you've determined that, is you post a brief 2 to 3 minute video of yourself delivering an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is the idea of being able to sell a potential investor, a potential partner, even potential customer in many cases on your business. In a short amount of time. So like maybe 60 seconds, but maybe we'll do, just for ease, 2 to 3 minutes. If your video is shorter than 2 minutes, that's fine. If we can avoid going over 3 minutes, that would be really good. But what we want to do, but I'm not going to take points off unless it's like an hour long, just, reasonable, 2 to 3 minutes. Okay. The problem. So what is the problem that you're solving? The solution. How will the business generate revenue? How will the business create new customers? And what is an MVP, minimum viable product, that you can implement now during the course of this term in order to test the assumptions from your business model canvas for this business idea? So that is to say, if you go back to the business model canvas, in fact, I have it here. These are the 9 components, right, of the business model canvas. Our MVP is the vessel through which we are able to validate or invalidate each one of these components. Which, since I'm using that term, validate, if you can come to the conclusion in a short amount of time that like the whole thing is not feasible, not viable, not validated, that is actually a tremendously underestimated entrepreneurial success. Okay. You're a scientist. Treat it like a scientist. The most successful entrepreneurs treat themselves like scientists. Treat what they do as though they're doing science. So, in other words, you have a test, you have a hypothesis, rather. Your problem statement is sort of your hypothesis, and going out and is very much your hypothesis, in fact. And then going out and testing that hypothesis requires a vessel, requires an MVP, requires something that people can provide you feedback on. Okay. And so what is an MVP? If it's a service, maybe the MVP is actually doing a simple version of the service. If it's an app, the MVP is probably at this point a vibe coded, and I can help to do that if you are not familiar, but probably is like is a very simple software prototype of whatever the app or whatever the software solution is. Okay. And the physical product is simple. Maybe it doesn't actually work, but you can feel it in your hand, and you can get like a general idea of what it is. So whatever it is, it might be a service, it might be a software, it might be a physical product. Either way, ideate to what is the least what is an MVP that we can create that will create what is an MVP that we can develop that will create the most amount of learning with the least amount of effort. So in other words, I don't want to spend thousands of dollars and wait years to get something developed. I want to be able to go out and get feedback from real people now. Entrepreneurs are artistic, creative, passionate, all these really great things. They want to dot every I, cross every T before they show their idea to real people. And then years later, they show their idea to real people. They open up shop, no one comes. And why did no one come is because of unintentionally ignoring real people from the very beginning. I'll give one example of an MVP, and it is this. Maybe two really quick ones. First one is this. So Dropbox is a company. They were the first movers in the space of large file sharing. Okay, this is like maybe 2005, 2006 kind of time frame. Large file sharing, meaning if I have a 20 gigabit file, let's say a 20-minute video on my phone, I can't text it to my friend, but I can airdrop it to my friend. So they were the first movers in this space. Okay, in the state of the art, in let's say 2005, 2006 kind of time frame was this: they would mail across the globe to Europe, Asia, all over. They would mail hard drives, flash drives, thumb drives, stuff like this. It would take weeks, and then finally they get it, and they'd be able to plug it into their computer, and they'd be able to get the file, whatever it is that they're shipping all over the globe, right? Well, large file sharing would solve that problem, right? If only I could upload a 20 gigabit file here in Florida and then download it in Paris, or download it in Italy, wherever it might be. Okay. But in 2005-ish, this was a tremendous technological leap. Okay. It would cost millions of dollars and a lot of time to be able to develop something that could actually do that, even if it was even possible. Okay. So the founders at Dropbox, what they did was this: rather than investing millions of dollars on assumptions, they went out and validated whether or not they would have a market for this. How did they do that? They spent one afternoon. They recorded a smoke and mirrors video. It didn't work. What the video looked like was this: they went on one computer, they uploaded a 20 gigabit file, they walked over, they went to another computer, and they downloaded a 20 gigabit file. So it looked like they uploaded into a folder on one computer. Sure enough, that file was in the folder, same folder, on the other computer. Then they were able to download it. To us today, that seems so simple. Back then, that was like groundbreaking. Like anytime a firm saw that across the globe, they're like, oh my God, I will pay you top dollar today for that. I need it yesterday. How much can I pay for you to get it to me sooner? Stuff like that. That's the kind of feedback they were getting. So they knew that they'd get a huge market for it. So on one hand, they had all this validation that people would actually buy it. And on the other hand, they had this long list of all of the hot prospects, all of the early adopters, all the people who wanted to buy it first. Okay. And so with that, they went and they invested the time and the money in order to be able to develop the solution. And then they and they were a major success for a very long time. They were the leaders in that space. It wasn't until the big dogs, Apple and Google, started just kind of working it natively into their products that they were able to till they lost their kind of market share, I suppose. But that for a long time they were very successful. But what did it cost them in order to be able to test that and create that huge mailing list and create all that success? A little bit more than this, but initially it just spent an afternoon recording that video. So that is the idea here. So what is your MVP that could, again, generate the greatest amount of validated learning with the least amount of effort? Okay. The other quick example was this guy, he went at Zappos. So Amazon, they were the first movers in selling books online, actually. Before they did everything else, the first thing they did was sold books online. They were the first online bookstore. This guy was the first online shoe store. What he did was he went to the local Dick's Sporting Goods, just took pictures with his phone, or rather took pictures with his camera. This is probably before smartphones. Is maybe like early 2000s. And then he made a website where he would sell the shoes on the website. Anytime someone ordered a shoe, he would mail it to, he would go to the Dick's Sporting Goods and buy it and then go and ship it to them. And he made no profit margin on that. That was just validating two things. A, he was validating that people would indeed buy shoes online. And then secondly, that people would come to his store because of the efforts that he was doing in marketing it. So the marketing campaigns were working, the distribution channels were working, the digital sales funnel was working. Okay. Again, what did that cost? Did it cost millions of dollars? Did it cost even thousands of dollars? No, it just costed a little bit of time. And worthwhile things take time. So now it is your idea is what is the MVP that you're going to implement in order to be able to test this? Okay. It could be an app that is a high fidelity MVP that you can go out and test it and use it now. It could be something simpler than that. It could be a video like what I was describing with Dropbox. It could be like more of a Wizard of Oz is the kind of MVP that we call what the Zappos was. But anyway, what is your MVP going to be? That's simple. So the problem, solution, generate revenue, create customers, and MVP that you can use to test throughout the remainder of the term. Okay. It's got to be something that you can build quick. If it is if it is a physical product, we have our makerspace, and that is open all summer long. So reach out to me if you have any questions on anything related to this, and I am here and happy to help. Okay. All right. Have a great week. And again, reach out if you have any questions. Okay. Bye.